Ready, Harry?
Hey everyone, welcome. Hey Zsofia, how are you?
Hi. Good, thanks.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. I just want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, how to format your manuscript before ebook conversion. Thanks for being here. If you want, in the chat feature, you can say hello and just tell us where you're from. We'd like to greet you. And as people start rolling in, we'll still try to greet everyone and get everyone greeted. So thank you. Oh, thank you, Phyllis from Brooklyn. Thanks for coming, and everyone else. So today, I just wanted how the flow of everything will be. We'll go through brief introductions between myself, Publish Drive, and Sophie, and then we'll go into the content, and then we'll have a live question and answer towards the end of today. Also, for anybody in here, you can also ask questions in the chat feature, or you could raise your hand with the features here as well. But so let's get started, and hopefully as we get more people in, if anyone has questions, we'll catch those. So again, my name is Adam Woods. I'm an author, a speaker, and also an author success coach at Publish Drive. Now, Publish Drive is if you don't know what we are, we're an awesome self-publishing ebook platform. We have over 60,000 titles in our catalog, over 3,000 authors/publishers. We could get your books into 240,000 digital libraries, 400 stores, including Amazon and Google Play and Apple Books and Barnes & Noble and Kobo and many, many, many more. We also just signed an awesome deal for China, so with a company called Dang Dang. So we're really excited about that. So today's guest speaker is Zsofia, or Zsofia. In English, we would say Sophie. She's an author. She's our blogger over at publishdrive.com, so check that out. She writes some awesome content. She's also our communications manager. So all of our communications through our company go through her. But I'm going to turn a little bit of time over to her so she can introduce herself just a little bit. Go ahead, Sophie.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Adam. I'm really excited to be here. So just to see my qualifications for this tonight's event, I'm really excited to be here. I've been working with books for basically as long as I remember. I have over 10 years of experience in the publishing industry. I started as a writer, as an author myself, and then I went into editing and layout design. I did publishing studies at university, and basically I fell in love with ebooks way before ebooks were actually a widely available thing. My first Kindle book got delivered to me before Amazon was available in Hungary. A friend brought it from the United States. And I've been like tweaking ebooks ever since. At Publish Drive, I'm responsible partly for making others happy, and I also help our publisher coach Chilla checking ebooks, and I meet a lot of authors and see their books. So I'm familiar with the kind of problems they experience and the kind of mistakes they make, which could be easy to avoid.
Well, awesome. Thanks, Sophie. You guys will see she's awesome. She's going to show you some really cool stuff today. Also, welcome Lisa from New York City. Been there and we love it. Just so you know also about Publish Drive, so we're an international company. So I'm based in the United States, obviously, and Sophie's in London. We have a team members in our office in Berlin and in Budapest. Also, just some housekeeping things. So like I said earlier, if you're just joining us, if you'd like to ask a question, you can go ahead and do that into the chat feature, and we'll try to we have team members on that will try to get those answered for you. If you'd like those answered in the live question and answer section, right, towards the end of this webinar, just go ahead and put for Q&A and then ask your question. If not, go ahead and try to, raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature here at GoToWebinar, and we'll try to get those questions answered as they come in for you. So today, we're going to talk about how to get your manuscript ready for ebook conversion. As Sophie can tell you, she's part of the team that helps out the team that, we see thousands and hundreds all the time of manuscripts that come in that are not ready, that we have to send back. And so this is some really, really great and useful information. And like I said, we'll go through the main content of that, and then we'll have a live question and answer, and then we'll go from there. A couple of things to look out for as well is that we also have another series of webinars. This is just the first of many. The next one's on metadata, because if you don't know what the heck that is, you got to know it. So keep an eye out for stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get started here. And we want to talk about kind of a lot of the common mistakes that people make, the do's and don'ts in preparing your manuscript, and how you would do it to turn it into an ePub file. But first of all, Sophie, let me ask you a question. Why is it important to format your manuscript?
Well, it's a great question. Partly it's important because you want your book to look good, and your book won't really look good if your manuscript wasn't properly formatted. So what I see many times is that somebody spends hours formatting their or converting their ebook. They find a great software, and it's just not producing the results they expect, and then the others get frustrated and they don't understand what they are doing wrong, even if they're following the steps described, like the process described in the conversion software. And what often happens is that the conversion software is not doing its thing. It's not doing what it's expected to do, because the manuscript that they fed it isn't properly formatted. And the other thing, what is talked about a bit less usually, so I'd like to talk about it a bit more, is the ebook validation. So it happens many times that people try to upload a book either to Publish Drive or to one of our competitors, and it gets rejected because it's invalid. And others, we met all kinds of authors, but most authors we met are not geeks. They don't know how to handle HTML, which is absolutely all right. I wouldn't know it myself if I wasn't doing this for a job. There is a secret, well, not so secret, but there is a hidden process called ebook validation, and this is what I'd like to talk about at the beginning. So we all know that people create ebooks using many different software, like many different apps on desktop computer, on, I don't know, a Mac, or in the browser, using many kind of softwares. There are free softwares, there are paid softwares, there are like very expensive softwares, and they all have to produce a result that can be read basically by anything. So ebooks are read on Kobos, on Nukes, on your smartphone, and there has to be a process to make sure that the book you create can be read at any kind of device. Imagine that you create an ebook, you upload it to your favorite store, and then your customer buys it, and they just can't open it. It doesn't work.
The worst.
That basically would be the worst. So to avoid this, to make sure that all books look exactly the same, or all books behave exactly the same way on all kinds of devices, independently from how they were created or what you're opening them on, there has to be an ebook validation. Ebook validation is not something that you can't actually check. I'd ask Adam to share the link with you where you can check this validator. It's a free process, so you can just upload your book and it would give you the actual errors. And what we're hoping with today's webinar is to give you the tools that would help you avoid these errors. So when you would upload your book, it would be error-free.
Yeah, so in the chat feature, I just put in a link to a validator. So if you want to know if your manuscript is ready, you can actually, anybody can use this. It's a free piece of software. You just go to the validator, the website I just put into the chat feature, and you can go check it out there. There's some really cool stuff. And real quick, hi, Evelyn from New York City. Thanks for chiming in. So as we move on with this, okay, so what advice, so you're going to give us some really helpful hints today. So is the advice that you're going to give, if I'm going to, is it going to work for people who are going to convert their manuscripts themselves, or for people who are going to hire it out? Will it work for both, the tips that we're giving today?
Oh, it's a funny question. Okay, I'd recommend others who are taking themselves, who are thinking of themselves as professionals, to eventually learn how to format their own ebooks, because this is how they can get the best results. So these are the people, the do-it-yourself people, who I'm aiming at the most. But if you are hiring like somebody to do the ebook conversion for you, you want to give them a manuscript that is easy to work with and that looks exactly as you want your final product to look. So yes, this advice can be used in both cases. So that's absolutely all right.
I know. I've hired this out when I'm converting mine, and they always get upset with me. It just makes their life so much easier if you follow the tips and best practices and tricks and stuff. Okay, but so this leads us into a great question. So let's say I've already finished a manuscript, or I'm starting a manuscript. Is it better to do it at the beginning, these formatting issues or whatever you're going to explain to us, or can I do it after the fact as well? What's the best?
Well, the best would be to follow this advice from the very beginning, but I know this is not how it works, so people usually don't start thinking about formatting until after they finish the book, which absolutely makes sense, and this is how, you know, I did it. I didn't think about ebook conversion until I had a full novel ready, obviously. I was just thinking about writing, but if you would follow this advice with your next book, that would be amazing. And you can also go through your manuscript before conversion. It doesn't take long. It's not difficult at all, and it would make your life or the person's life who is doing your conversion just so much easier.
Definitely for sure. Okay, so let's dig into this. What are the main points that we need to remember when we're formatting?
Okay, so last time I did this, I was able to share my screen, and now I'm not.
Hold on, let me switch. This. You know, it's funny. There's two guarantees in life, right? Death and taxes. But there's always a third too. No one knows this. That you're guaranteed to have technical problems when you're in the middle of a presentation. This always happens.
Oops.
Hold on. You should be able to. Let me see here. Let me make sure. If I switch it to you, I'm going to make you the presenter, and you should be able to share your screen. 1 second.
Okay. Oh, yes, I think that's...
There you go. We got it.
Yes, that's better. Okay, so...
Okay, so now we're going to go over the main points that we should be focusing on during the formatting to prepare this for ePub conversion.
Yeah, so what I want to talk about first is the differences between text editors and ebook editors. So I know that most of you are using a text editor to write your book, which is what you should do and which is absolutely all right. Like Word or Google Docs, or I don't know, whatever else you're using.
Or whatever, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever you're using. Text editors are there to help you write your book and edit your book. They are there for collaborative work, to make changes, to follow up on changes, to highlight whatever is important at that moment. And ebook editors or ebook converters on the other side, they might even look similar. They might even have a what you see is what you get interface. They are there to make it difficult to make changes in the ebook. Obviously, you don't want anyone to download your ebook and then put something in it. They use a HTML language hidden in the background. They use
Zsofia, show us your slide. We're seeing another document on there too. Yep, there you
go. Okay, sorry. So yeah, sorry. Here we go. So yeah.
There you go.
Yes. So ebook editors are there to basically help you format and convert your ebook, but they are not there to help you make changes or anything. How does it look in practice? So everybody knows how an ebook editor looks like, so I'm not going to show you that, but I like to show you what an ebook looks like in the background. So let me just open this. I'm opening this book with Sigil, which is an ebook editor. What you see here is some HTML. You can switch between HTML and PrepView. I see the style sheet. This is where all the formatting lies, but don't worry if you don't know what this is, or you don't worry if it's all Greek to you. It's all gonna come clear. Here is where the table of contents is. So it's a separate document. You see, it's not inside the book. It's not one of the text documents. It has to be generated. We're gonna talk about this. This is what opens up if you open the book on Kindle and you press the table of contents button. I'm sure you all read ebooks, so if you press the table of contents button, this is what opens up, and we're going to talk about this later.
So
and
this is all the back end code then of what in an ePub converter of what it would look like to make it look good on your iPhone or on a Kindle device or anything like that. So this is what the back end code looks like, correct?
Yes. So this is what your ebook actually looks like before when you create it, if you open it with an editor.
Gotcha.
And this last one I wanted to show you is the metadata. So each ebook has the metadata saved inside, like the language, the creator, the title, the ISBN, or any other identifier. So far, so good.
Can I say something about metadata really quick? Being in the industry, and maybe if you guys have discovered this already, the metadata has been changing over the years. Like keywords are changing and search words are changing. So it's very important that we stay up on top of the metadata. That's why we're doing another webinar on this. And remember, for metadata, it's all of the back end. It's all of the stuff to make your book discoverable. And everything in this world of industry is changing. So it's important that we stay on top of those keywords and all of the other functions of metadata. That's why we're doing a webinar on that. Sorry, I just had to plug that. Go ahead, Zsofia.
No, that's very important what you just said. So let's just tuck in. Before you start your formatting, or before you do any formatting, I'd like you to remember the importance of keeping it simple. It is very important to keep it simple, partly because all ebook readers are different, and partly because all ebook readers, or most ebook readers, offer your reader, the customer, basically your reader, the option of changing things. So if you
can't see your screen, go ahead and share it again.
Oh no, you can't. Okay, here we go. So what you see here is what it looks like in Kindle. Your reader can open your book, and then they can choose a font, they can choose the font size, they can choose the gap between the lines, or whether it's justified or aligned left. So if you want to spend hours thinking about the perfect font of your book, I recommend that you don't do it. And most likely, it's going to be overwritten. There are some things
Sophie, let me stop you real quick. Just relating to the last, when you're on Fidgel showing us what the backend code looks like, someone asked the question. It was Diana, who I know. She is in New York City. She said, hey, hi. So why do we need to know what the ebook code is if the editor is the one who will do it? Well, that's a great question. We just wanted you to see what the back end looks like, just so you can kind of get an idea. Because sometimes if things pop up, you might get a little confused. But just know that in an edit, what the editor is doing, or if you're going to do it yourself in an editor, this is what it's going to look like. Diana, I know personally, so she's probably just going to hire it out. But just so you know, Diana, this is why it's there. Just so you know, it's just back end information to know.
Also,
that tool sounds good.
Also, sometimes against all the best intentions, things go wrong. So sometimes you think you're doing everything right and things go wrong, especially if you're working on a more complicated book, if you need to do like any special fonts, which I was just about to mention, because some fonts don't get overwritten if you are using a non-Latin script, for example, or if you want to do like some fancy fonts for your chapter titles, they won't get overwritten, and or not always get overwritten. And if you want to make sure that everything looks right, everything looks as you want it to look, it is possible that you will have to be able to at least know where to look for the thing that went wrong, if that makes sense.
Totally. Thank you.
Okay, so back to this. I was just explaining that it's important to keep it simple, and it's important to understand that even that your ebook might not look on the same on the devices as you wanted it to look. So because all devices are different, all devices have a different size, they have different settings. Like if you're using Script, they use one default font, that's it, everything gets overwritten. So you don't have to expect your book to look exactly the same way as you intended it to look. It's not a paper book. It has to be accessible. It has to suit your reader well. That's why probably they're reading an ebook, because they want to change the font. They want to be able to read the way they want to read, and that's absolutely all right. Okay, moving on. We talked about keeping it simple, and the next thing is consistency. So one thing that you certainly have to do is to keep it consistent. So what often happens is that I open an ebook and the first chapter is like 12-point font size, the next chapter is 11 points, and then the chapter title is bold or italic, and the next chapter title is blue. So,
and then chapter 4 is all in New Times Roman. I mean, we see it all the time, and it's disgusting.
Yes, and it doesn't happen because people are bad or anything. Nobody is doing anything wrong, but it's very easy to forget what you did in the previous chapter. Obviously, when you're writing your book, you're thinking about writing your book. You're not thinking about whether you're using Times New Roman or Arial. And by the time you finish it, it's all a mess. You want to change it, and then you kind of lose your way, and you don't know what to do. It is, if you would need to do everything one by one, it would be very difficult. But today we're going to talk about how to do everything using styles. So I'm going to open up a sample document which I created. It's a sample book, hopefully, yes. So you see it looks nice, it has a cover, there's a title, author name, copyright, some table of contents, some pictures, but you can already see that it's a mess. So how do we make this book ready for conversion? What do we do? First, we can go, there are two options we can do, two things we can do. Let me just go a bit closer. This close, okay. So there are two things that we can do to make everything consistent. One is the nuclear option. I'm going to show that first, and the other one is a bit less nuclear, but that's still good. So to go to nuclear option, I would press Ctrl A to highlight everything and click clear all formatting. What this button does is exactly what it says on the name. It literally clears every formatting of your book. If you had any bold, any italics, any highlights, everything is gone. All text is now the same. So we have everything in Garamond, 12 points. It literally is the nuclear option. In many cases, if you think that your manuscript is needs like a kind of a big, well, I don't know, so it needs to be really changed, then this is the way to go. But if you have many bold and italic text, it might be too much and you might feel, well, I just don't know where to start again. So let's just remove these changes. And the other thing.
So let me jump in real quick, Sophie. So So if I have a 20,000 word manuscript, and if I'm not sure, if I think I'm really messed up all over the place. So basically you're just saying, highlight the whole thing and put it back to a normal text. So everything is standardized already throughout the book. And then we can go back and fix it. You're saying that's the easiest way to do it, especially if you need a whole overhaul or something, right? With
Yes.
the standard,
Well,
really that's step one there.
Yes, this is the nuclear option. I would only recommend the nuclear option if you know that your text is really a mess. Otherwise, if you think your text is like kind of fine, you just need to make some changes, you just didn't use any styles or whatever, then I would still go highlight the whole thing and go normal. So this does keep some local formatting. So if you see the author name that kept the whole formatting, kept the size, it kept the italics, and here it also kept the size. So it does keep some local formatting. It doesn't keep all. It removes some of the formatting.
So if your manuscript's a mess, you can do the whole clear all formatting, or you could just go do the normal text where it keeps some of the formatting, but just standardized throughout the document.
Yes, but to make sure that it's really standardized when you do this, which is not the nuclear option, I would still go to the size and font. So I would set it to 12 Garamond. Then I'd say that it kept my italics and my bold, which is very important that it is kept, but I no longer need to worry about fonts and sizes. That's all set. Okay, and what happens now? I removed the formatting, but what's now? How do I add it back? So what I recommend you to do is go to first chapter, first paragraph, and set it the way you want it. So I don't know, let's say I want my paragraphs to be written with, oh goodness, okay, with Calibri, font 11. So let's say this is my normal paragraph. I don't have an indent, but I want spacing before and after the paragraph. This I do. And what I do next is I go to normal. Remember, this is a normal paragraph. We just made it normal. This is the default. I right click and I go update normal to match selection. And what happens now, what you see is that all paragraphs in the document have this format. So you don't have to go back and change the format one by one. You just change your normal and all of them are gonna look the same.
Yeah, that's a huge time saver, especially if you got 30,000 words. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. What else you can do is to do the same with your headings. So your chapter titles, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 have to be headings. Heading is very important. It's very important that you use heading, that you don't just, I don't know, highlight it and make it, I don't know, 18 points and bold and that's it. It looks the same. I know it looks the same, but it doesn't act the same. So when you would drop this into like, firstly, you would have to remember through the document what you did for the first chapter, which is a nightmare to remember, and most people can't. I wouldn't be able to. And secondly, when you are putting your book through a conversion software, it needs to have headings for the table of contents that I just show you to be created. So if you don't have headings, if your headings are not marked properly, then your table of contents won't be created. Why is it a problem? Partly it is just not polite. So if you have a book with 22 chapters, then you really should give the person who is buying your book the option of like flipping to chapter 22 without, I don't know, needing to flip through one by one all the pages. And also it is a requirement by the stores. So some stores are more serious in checking it and some others I know for a fact that iBooks would reject books that don't have this built-in table of contents, or where this built-in table of contents is empty and doesn't contain chapters. So what do? You go here to heading, you do whatever formatting you want to do. Let's say italics and caramel, and I go to update heading want to match selection, and I just need to go through all the headings and press this heading button, and all my chapters look the same.
Right. I just want to say, let me jump in real quick. You know, some people say it's not that big of a deal, but ultimately, in the long run, you're going to save yourself a bunch of headache if you just use the software. Like we're using a Word document here. Just use the heading that's built into there, the button that's built into the software that you're using, because ultimately, you won't be able to build a table of contents automatically in the ePub if you don't have those chapter headings done with built within the software. If you just type in, it's not the end of the world, but it's a big headache in the long run. This will just save you a ton of time. Trust me, for you self-publishers out there, formatting issues are always like the biggest headache. So just do it right the first time, and do your best to do it right the first time with just using proper headings. It'll save you a ton of time in the long run.
Yes.
Well,
Also,
and Diana, so she says, Sophie, you are a very clear teacher. Compliment. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Diana. Additionally, just adding to what Adam just said, it's a good idea to use styles for your headings, because if you want to change something, it is very easy to change it. So if I would decide now that I hate this font, which I actually do for my for my body, I could just go and select whatever, and go again, update normal to match selection, and it happens. So you don't have to, you can always be sure that your document is consistent through the way. You never have to worry about this again.
Right.
Okay, let's see what else do we have left. There is still a lot to do. So now I'm switching on show all hidden characters. This is showing me all the hidden characters in the document. These little paragraph sign stands for paragraph. This here stands for a tabulator, and we have, oh, my word is acting out, but we have these little dots. These stand for space. So what we see here is that there are many paragraph breaks, and that I've been using paragraph breaks to move something to the next page or to organize things on a page. So I use paragraph breaks to move this like 3 lines below, then some paragraph breaks again, and then some paragraph breaks to move this to the next page. But as you see, I've changed the font size, and it's already not on the next page. So this isn't working. If you would be doing this, if you would be using paragraph breaks to move something to the next page, as you already see in the Word document, it won't be a wonder that in the ePub file, you would also end up with the same empty pages, things starting at the middle of the page. This is not
it's just going to look funny on any of your readers if you leave those in. It's going to look terrible, really, really weird.
It's going to look as bad as it already looks on my screen. So
right.
yes, it basically looks bad enough here already. So how do we get rid of this? It's extremely easy. I press Ctrl F for navigation. I select replace, and then I either know the HTML code for a paragraph, which is this little rooftop and the P, or I go to more special and I select paragraph code. Nope. And I select paragraph mark. It's the same. I enter these 2 paragraph marks, and I want to replace them with 1 paragraph. mark, and then I do it a couple of times until there are no more replacements made. That's basically it. So I got rid of all the paragraph breaks. And I do the same with any spaces, any double spaces. I can see already that there must be some double spaces or triple spaces left inside. You know, sometimes you just press space twice. It's no big deal, but when you're reading, your eyes would just, you know, it would kind of break the reader's eye when they're reading. It's very unprofessional to leave those in, and it's so easy to change them. So why wouldn't you just get rid of those? The same thing, you go to replace, you press space twice, you replace them with one space, replace all, do it a couple of times. Cool, it's all gone. Okay, what else do we have left?
Well, hold on. Hey, let me interrupt. Evelyn, do you have a question? Can I unmute you? I don't know how, sorry, I didn't have my thing up, so I saw that you had your hand raised. Let me unmute you really quick. Hi, Evelyn. Do you have a question? Oh, nope, she's all good. Never mind. Thanks. Sorry, so.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so what we see now is that all chapters are, so the chapter breaks are gone. So now all chapters start on the same page. But this is not something you need to worry about. So what often happens is that if you use any decent conversion software, if you mark your chapters as headings, your ebook conversion software will automatically add a page break there. It's a ePub standard to, well, it's a very good practice to have a page break before a new chapter. So most ebook conversion softwares, basically all ebook conversion software I know does this automatically. So you don't have to add a page break here.
Perfect.
But if you would need to, if you wanted to add a page break somewhere, let's just see how to do that. Let's say I want to add a page break here. It's very easy. I just go here, insert, and page break.
Right.
And that's it. I can see with the hidden characters on that page break is inserted. And this will transfer well to any ebook conversion software. They will know that you have a page break here, and it will start on the new page. Even if you're like, regardless of what your reader is using, regardless of whether they're using a smartphone or a whole, like a tablet, regardless of the screen size, it's going to be the same. Okay, what else do we have left? We have pictures. Pictures are all right. It's a legend, an urban legend that you can't have pictures in ePubs. You can have pictures. You can have cute pictures. It's absolutely all right. What doesn't really work is the text overflow. So it is possible to do text overflow in ePubs. It is possible to even do them in reflowable ePubs. But what I often say is that if somebody is doing their first ePub, we recommend them not to play around with text overflow, because what often happens is that the picture, you see this little anchor here. This is where this picture is basically connected. This picture is connected to this paragraph, and these things often just go wrong during the conversion, and this little kitty could end up somewhere here if it's not properly put in place. So what we recommend is that you go here to the layout options and select inline with text. And then I would even just make sure that this kitty has its own line. So this way you would make sure that this kitty is between these two paragraphs.
We have a question, Sophie. Diana asks, well, what is text overflow? And you've kind of answered it a little bit since she's answered this, but basically it's, see how it's here, Diana, that she has its own line. It doesn't, the text, if you move the picture, text overflow is that the words will move around basically the picture.
You would also call it the text wrapping. So if maybe that's the word, you know, the wrapping. So wrapping doesn't always work. We see many people who'd like to have this little kitty here and then just wrap the text or flow the text around it. But this little kitty would probably end up somewhere here at the bottom of the next page, because this way you see when you're moving this little kitty, this anchor doesn't really move with it, because it's like a Word thing where you attach the picture. If you've been working with Word documents with many pictures, I'm sure you notice that sometimes the pictures tend to jump around and just not do their things. It is because if you have the overflow or the wrapping on, then they don't get joined to a paragraph or to, well, they get joined differently. So I'd recommend that you go to inline with text. Little kitty has its own line, and it won't jump around. You can be sure that it stays here.
It's gonna, and it just depending on what kind of reader you have, it's going to be able to have its own spot and won't be moving around all over the page. It'll be formatted okay. Depending on the reader.
This little kitty won't move around. It's gonna stay between this paragraph and this paragraph as it should. Yes. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. What else do we have? We have, I don't have in this document, but in many documents you have footnotes. So let's just, oh goodness, let's just create a footnote. Why don't I have a footnote? Okay, so let's just have a footnote. What happens with footnotes? So if you have a footnote in your document, you expect the footnote to be at the bottom of the page. But because in ebooks, you never know where the bottom of the page is, you want to make sure that you don't have any footnotes, or your footnotes are at the end of either the chapter or at the end of the Word document. So how do you do that? It's a little trick which I really like. So you go here, you go this, like, you have to click this little thingy, this little arrow here, and go to EndNote. You can either choose end of the section, which is basically the end of chapter, or end of the document, and convert. So this will move all your footnotes to the end of the document as EndNotes, and any decent conversion software would make them clickable. So your readers would be able to click the little link, the little number, move to the end of the ebook, and then easily move back. So if you do it this way, most software you can use will do this trick for you, so you wouldn't need to worry about that. Okay. There is, I think, just two more things I want to mention. One thing is the numbered list. So in many cases, when you're creating a list, you would use this numbered list option on the in Word, which is absolutely fine, because it automatically knows that your next item is the fourth item. But when you're converting your book to an ebook, unfortunately, this doesn't work in the current ebooks standards. So what happens, let me show you here, is that all numbers become 1. If you're, this picture is taken from an ePub that was created this way. It is the same structure. You have a number, and then text, and then the number. And if you see, this number is also 1. And in the Word document, that was 2, and then 3, and then 4. But in the current ebook standards, they can't do it, so it doesn't work. If you have numbered lists, you have to, unfortunately, you have to write the numbers by hand. It is very, very, very unfortunate. There is a trick, oops, goodness. There is a trick of converting all the numbered lists in your document to numbers if you have many of them, if you have like more than 10 to do. If you go to the website, it is, and check out the fast and ebook conversion, it is there. I'm not going to show you that now because it's a bit complicated, but it's worth doing it if you have more than 10 of these. And the other thing I would recommend.
Well, question. We have a question for you.
Okay.
Can you list chapters by a name and not a number?
Of course. Of course. Yes, of course. Whatever you can do, you can even do like chapter 3, and then give a subheading. I don't know. She goes away.
I think it's just important that you just use the the heading button, whatever one you choose, heading 1, 2, 3, or whatever. That you just use that. But it could say anything really.
It can say anything. So what we sometimes see is that the chapter number is a heading, and then the chapter name is a subheading, and then they get listed under each other. I can kind of show you how. Well, basically like this, like a lot like this on this picture. Or what we also often see is just people write like chapter 1, it goes away, and then it just appears in the same line. It's both good.
I just want to mention to everyone, if you're feeling like you're not catching everything the first time, obviously we're going to email you out the recording so you can go back and watch this over and over, to help you with any of those questions. You can also email us, Adam Woods at Publish Drive. We'll try to get those questions answered for you. And also, don't forget, guys, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but at Publish Drive, if you sign up, we'll do your first ePub conversion for free. So I just wanted to realize I had that in my mind too. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, don't worry about it. It's normal. You can come back and watch this, and we can help you out, and we can do the first one for free, for sure.
Cool. I think we're wrapping up soon. There is just one thing I wanted to mention with the table of contents. So we see these are two kinds of table of contents. It's here. One is when the author by hand adds the chapter name and the page number. This has to go. There is no reason to keep this. There are no page numbers in ebooks, so this has to just go away. And the other thing is the generated table of contents, which we see often in ebooks. They sometimes work, they sometimes don't work, but either way, they have page numbers, and ebooks really not supposed to have page numbers. They don't make any sense. Because if you're reading it on a smartphone, it might be 500 pages, and if you're reading it on a computer, it'd be just like 200 pages, so it don't make any sense. To delete this, just go to References, Table of Contents, and remove Table of Contents, and then it's gone. And when you're converting your ebook, these gonna be used to generate a table of contents. And I think that's basically everything what I wanted to say about preparing your ebook for ePub conversion.
Thank you, Zsofia. I mean, it's awesome. When we were practicing this, I told you I'd learned more at 45 minutes of just talking to you than I'd ever done studying on my own. It was awesome. So we're going to turn it over to you guys for any kind of questions that you might have. Go ahead and just hit the raise your hand button on your panel there, and I'll go ahead and unmute you if you have it. While we're waiting for anybody with questions. Oh, we have a question. And Diana, 1 second. Oh, no, she just said thanks. Diana, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? I think she's up. Nope, she's all good. Okay. If anybody else, please hit. If anybody else has a question, go ahead and just hit the raise your hand feature, and we'll get you. But while we're waiting for that, for anybody to do that, I just want to remind you, like we said, if you go to publishdrive.com and sign up, we'll do your first ebook conversion for free. It's super awesome. It just will help you out. We want to help you out as much as possible. Also, a couple of other things to look out for. In the notes, in our chat feature, I'm going to put our next a link to our next webinar on metadata. That one's going to be super awesome too. Metadata is just so important these days. So there's that. You know, follow us on Twitter or on Facebook, our Facebook group. You'll see a lot of Zsofia in there. Or, you know, follow us on Twitter. We have just cool stuff coming out all the time. And also, for those of you who are local to, you know, the New York City area, we're having a meetup on September 13th, Thursday, September 13th at 6 o'clock in the evening. It'll be in Lower Manhattan, almost near Tribeca. So you guys are all welcome to come. If you're near the boroughs in Jersey or whatever, please come. Or if you're visiting, we'd love to have you there. So looking for any questions. Also, a couple things to look out for, guys. We have one-on-one coaching sessions available, and right now they're free. So, and I know I've done a couple of them. Well, I've done a handful of them already. Diana was one of them. That's how I know her. And so those are available to you. They're great if you have specific questions about topics or steps in the publishing process. How do I do a cover? What's the best way to format, or whatever it might be? Or if you're stuck, it then becomes just a strategy session to help you move forward. So those are available to you. And also coming soon, when we launch our new website, you'll have access to what we call the Author Success Corner. It'll be there. You'll find a lot of awesome stuff, a lot of articles and blog posts, a lot of them by Zsofia herself, relating to steps along the publishing process. But you'll also find a step-by-step guide, you know, so of what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And oftentimes they're just a series of videos. But I know it personally, being an author, how hard it is to go through the publishing process, especially starting out and you have a million questions and you're trying to navigate this confusing world. So we're just trying to make it easier. And so you'll find all of that there on the Author Success Corner. But if there are no other questions, oh, Diana had a question. Oh, no, just a lot of awesome things to say. Thank you, Diana. Much appreciated. So if there's no other, I'll leave it one more time. If there are any other questions, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and end it. Thank you, everyone, for coming. You guys are awesome. We know here at Publish Drive, we know how powerful storytelling is. And we know that you all have a story to tell, and we want you to share it. So we're just trying to give you as many tools as possible to help make this publishing journey like smooth and successful. So thanks, guys. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. And,
hold on. Diana has a question. Diana, 1 second. Oh, and Phyllis, 1 second. And okay, Diana, you are unmuted. How you doing, Diana?
Hey, how are you?
Go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me? Can you create a list of mistakes for all of us, like blurbs, like you would have at the end of a movie, things that have gone wrong that people, if they knew what not to do, not only what to do, but what not to do?
Yeah, I think, Sophie, isn't it in that you wrote a blog post? She wrote an awesome blog post about all of
Okay.
it.
Can you let all of us know?
Yeah,
yes, of course.
We can bring it out for sure.
Sometimes I think we learn more by how people make errors. We remember that maybe more than learning what to do.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. So yeah, thanks. We'll get that sent out to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and for all the comments. Thanks, Diana. You're awesome. Thank you, Evelyn. You are awesome. And let me go. There was one other question. 1 second. And Phyllis, let me unmute you. Hi, Phyllis from Brooklyn. How are you? Phyllis, are you there? Hold on. She sent me a question as well. Let me see if I can find it. Phyllis, are you there? Oh, here we go. She asked, Phyllis asked, how can I find out more about the meetup? That's a great question. We could actually email you guys some stuff as well. But if you go to meetup.com and search for self-publishing strategies, you'll find us there. And I'll put that into the chat as well. Actually, I'll put a direct link to that so you guys can find us there. Great question. And that is also in the chat. So if you guys need that, go ahead and find that link there. All right. Are there any other questions? Going once, going twice. Oh, Diana has one more question. Hi, Diana. You're on live again. Nope, I think she's good. Okay. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thanks for coming. We hope to see you at a lot of our events. If you have any questions, shoot us a call or call us or shoot us an email. You can reach me at adamwoods@publishdrive.com. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.